Hello and welcome to our channel, Grow Better. As we said before, we will grow better every day. On our last episode, we discussed a child being raised by a mother in the absence of the father and the likelihood of that boy becoming a responsible man. And after the presentation, we had some feedback from other viewers who were arguing that a child who is raised up as an orphan or in the absence of a father is far much better than a child who is raised by parents. Why? They were arguing that a child who is raised by parents tends to relax, tends to become interdependent, tends to become irresponsible. But is it really the fact that, is it always the case that a kid raised by both parents becomes interdependent, reluctant, and irresponsible? That's why we chose this topic today to focus on the child's character development. What influences the child's character? Be it a child with both parents or a child who is an orphan being raised by guardians, be it by his father's brothers or whoever is a guardian. But we want to look at how a child's character is developed, whether they are parents or they are no parents. My name is Abraham Farai, and today in the studio we have Salem Moyo, our organizer. This is the lady behind everything. She's the reason why this channel is up and running. And today she's posing as one of our presenters. She's going to help us to exhaust this topic that we are going to be discussing today.
So, actually, this is quite an interesting topic, And when you were saying child character development, it stirs up a lot of questions in me. But then let me ask you this. What really influences a child's character?
Okay, quite a lot of factors influences a child's character.
Okay.
It ranges from the parents and the family within which the child is being raised.
Okay.
Not only the parents, but friends and peer groups. The friends, the people outside the home. When the child leaves the home and the people that she interacts with also adds to that child's character. From there, the school and the teachers.
Okay.
The school that you send your child to and the teachers that are going to be interacting with your child from childhood up until the child leaves the school
Okay.
also adds to your child's character. And then from there, you've got the community.
Okay.
A child raised in a community with gangsterism has got some chances of becoming a gangster. Whereas a child raised in a community where the term gangsterism doesn't even exist has got zero chances of becoming a gangster because it doesn't have any way to copy how to be a gangster.
Okay.
And then from there, we have got media and technology. As you all know, during the night we are all glued at our televisions, watching many different soapies, which teaches many different things, many different programs. And we are on our phones, social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, seeing and interacting with quite a lot of things. All those things also shape a child's character. And from there, we've got traditions and culture. The community, a set of beliefs within a community that a child is living also shapes that child's what? His character. We're talking about traditions now.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, we've got religious and moral teachings.
Okay.
The religion that the parents follow or believe. The moral teachings or the set of beliefs from that certain religion also aids in developing a child's character. And then from religion, we also have general life experiences and life challenges. For example, a child being raised as an orphan without both parents, without comfort. Such a child tends to develop or to become independent quite faster or earlier than a child who is raised in comfort.
Okay.
And lastly, personal choices. After being exposed to quite a lot of things through the culture, through moral teachings, through life experiences, through the social media, the child also has got some personal choices to make, which also aids to that child's character.
Okay, wow, wow. That was quite a lot of information. But then now I just want to understand, like, why is character development important in a child? Why he or she is too young? Like you're talking about religion and stuff. Will they understand all those lot of things and maybe they don't even have friends? Is it possible to teach a child in their earliest age?
Okay. A kid or a children, they are not always taught directly. They are taught directly and indirectly. So some of these things, they just learn them without you teaching them.
Okay.
So there's what we call hidden curriculum. That a child just sees what you do and he or she imitates those things.
Wow.
So all those things that we were talking about, it's not like when a child is looking on a phone and seeing certain things, she knows that she's going to learn something. But remember, we imitate what we see. So a child will just see what she sees on the phone and then she becomes that, without even the parent knowing that my child is turning into this person. But then automatically, what you see is what you become.
Hmm.
So as parents, we've got a duty to teach a kid and also to look at what or what to look at what our kid is always doing, where our kid is spending the time and with who.
Wow, that was quite a lot of information. But then now I want us to dive into parents and family. Like let's discuss more about parents and family. How how they influence a child's behavior.
Okay, actually, parents and family, especially parents, are the first teacher or maybe the primary teachers of a child. They teach a child directly and indirectly. Let me maybe focus on the indirect part first before I talk about the direct part.
Okay.
Because the direct part, maybe it's much more easier. It's the do's and don'ts that you teach your kid. Do this, don't do this. This is how you wash your clothes. This is how you cook. Those are
Okay.
the things that you teach the kids verbally. That's much more understandable. But there's the indirect way of teaching a kid. How does a kid learn indirectly? The hidden curriculum, the things that you teach a kid without knowing that you are teaching him or her. How do you teach a kid? When you do the things that you do, a kid will just see what you are doing and imitates what you are doing. And then she will turn into that person. A boy would turn into who his father is. And then a girl would turn into who a mother is. And this is supported by a study that was done by the psychologist in Japan. The psychologist in Japan took a young monkey. When they took a young monkey, they took it from the forest and they started living with it. It started living among its human beings. It was raised by young kids, among its young kids that were amongst the babies that were being raised. And then after a long period of time, that baby monkey started behaving like humans. All the things that the human babies were doing, the baby monkey was doing also. When the kids are called to go and eat, or maybe when the kids are supposed to go and bath when they are sleeping, every reaction, all the things that the kids were doing, that's what the monkey was doing. Why? Because the monkey was just copying what's happening or what's transpiring in your environment, and in the end, that what influenced her behavior and the character. So with this being said, the sociologist then concluded that what we do matters most in the character of our child. If the father is abusive, a boy tends to become an abusive person also.
Okay.
If the mother is always frowning or always you have got this moody character, maybe it's because of whatever reasons or whatever things that are troubling you. And the girl child also tends to become the hard person because the kid is copying from what's happening in your environment.
Wow. Wow. So, from this experiment, we learned that kids imitate what they constantly see and experience in their environment. This teaches parents and guidance that our day-to-day lives matter. What we do, how we interact with other family members, how we interact with friends, family, and neighbors, how we talk to each other, how we communicate as a couple, aids to our kids' character development. As we all know, a saying that goes, a lion raises a lion, an elephant raises an elephant, a leopard raises a leopard, a bad parent raises bad kids, a good parent raises good kids. So let's keep this in mind. What we do, how we live as a family, aids to the kids' character development. Kids are greater imitators. So let's give them greater things to imitate.
So this is just trying to teach us that in all that we do, as far as we want kids with good characters, it starts with us parents. So just reflecting on what Salem just said, it really shows that when you want good kids, it always starts with the parents. So our emphasis is on the parents, that when you want your kids to have a good character, you have to look within a mirror. Look within yourself first. Look at how you treat others. Look at how you communicate with others. Look at how you deal with arguments, maybe at your home, maybe as a couple. That's what your kids will always imitate. So look within yourself. Become good, and your kids will become good kids.
So, from all this, we learned that kids imitate what their parents do. So, Abraham, how do you relate to this? Remember, there was a question posed that kids that grow up with both parents tend up to be irresponsible in future, while kids that grew up with either one or none of the parents turned out to be responsible from the earliest age. How do you relate to that?
Okay. It's not a question of growing with or without parents
Okay.
that leads a kid to be responsible or irresponsible. But then it all comes from what the kid was taught while he was growing up. We are going to see that there are kids who were brought up by both parents who are very irresponsible, who are dependent, who are reckless and irresponsible. But at the same time, there are kids who were raised by both parents who are also very responsible, very independent people who know how to carry themselves. So, what do we say then when we have got? Let me give you for example.
Mm-hmm.
You can take two kids, maybe let's say two 13-year-old girls.
Okay.
One knows how to do the dishes, knows how to cook, knows how to wash their clothes, knows how to iron them. And you're going to find out that the other one might not know how to wash clothes, not know how to do the dishes, not know how to do anything for herself.
Okay.
You're going to find out in the case of these two kids, it might be the fact that this other kid who doesn't know how to do the dishes, maybe the mother was doing everything for her. She was saying, no, I don't want my kids to do anything. I can do anything for my kids. I love my kids. I don't want them to do any work. They must just sit back and relax. Me as a mother, I can do everything for them.
Okay.
You see?
Mm-hmm.
Which is also a training. That's training a kid to be irresponsible.
Okay.
Because responsibility is knowing how to take care of yourself. You see?
Mm-hmm.
But then if the parents are doing everything for you, when the time comes when you have to stand up for yourself and be responsible in your own space without the parents to interfere, that's when the results are seen. If that was real love or it was just maybe spoiling a kid. But then a kid who is well trained, when the time comes where she needs to exhibit that irresponsibility that she was taught while grown up, you can see that this kid was well taught how to be responsible. So it's not a question of it's not a question of growing up with or without parents, but it's actually what was instilled in you when you were growing up, maybe directly or indirectly. If your parents were behaving responsibly, directly and indirectly, then the child will tend to be a responsible child. But in some way, if the father was maybe coming home late while he is drunk, the son will also always imitate that. It's an irresponsible behavior, but the son will imitate that because that's what he saw his father doing, and that's what good in his eyes. Remember, we said kids are great imitators, and they will imitate everything that their parents do.
Okay. So from what you were saying, I actually understand that love without boundaries spoil a child. Because you were saying a mother can maybe do everything for the kid, and then the other one is being taught how to do it. So that means we have to love our kids and have boundaries also, and learn to teach our kids to be responsible in everything that they do. Wash underwears, wash plates, wash their environment.
Yeah, that's very true. Responsibility, kindness, accountability, self discipline, all those things are taught by parents at a very young age. You know the saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So catch them young, teach them responsibility while they are young, teach them discipline while they are young,
Wow.
teach them how to take care of themselves, personal hygiene while they are young. So it's actually negative parental behavior that tends to produce irresponsible, dependent kids. Kids who doesn't know how to take care of themselves. As long as parents know and agree on what they want to instill in their kids, they'll always raise responsible, independent, and disciplined kids. But then the problem comes when maybe another parent wants this and then the other parents want that. When the mother says no and the father is saying yes, or the father is saying don't and the mother is saying do. Maybe the father is instructing a girl child on what time to come home. Maybe the father is saying no, by 5 you should be here, and then the mother says, no, stop putting too much pressure on my daughter. Let her come whatever time she wants to come. As long as she is with others, she will be safe. You see, it's all those things that confuse a kid. So, but if parents agree, are on the same level, are on the same ground, on the values and principles that they want to instill in their kids, there won't be confusion in the kids. So, it's a question of how parents treat, and it's a question of what parents teach their kids to do and what not to do. It's a question of what parents do for their kids that they shouldn't be doing for them, or it's a question of what parents don't do for their kids that they should be doing.
Okay.
In most cases, when a child grows to be irresponsible, it's because the parents are not doing what they should be doing. What is it that they should be doing? Maybe maybe the mother is always washing for a daughter while she's maybe sometimes needs to give maybe a single jacket or a single blouse just to watch for herself.
Okay.
Such that when time comes for her to stand up for herself, maybe in the absence of the mother, or else maybe the inevitable happens. Maybe it's death, the mother is now gone, and the child doesn't even know how to wash even a single blouse. What does that kid or what does that daughter tends to be? When people see, they would see an irresponsible kid. But was the problem the kid or the mother?
Okay. So, you know what? When you started saying about bad, bad, bad behaviors and bad parental influence, I had a question I wanted to ask, but then you answered it already. I learned that there must be one accord, unity between what the father wants and what the mother wants. So I guess these things needs to be discussed before we have a kid, and then maybe we know how best we want to raise our children.
All right. So that would mean it's actually a topic for another day, but that would mean if the two are unequally yoked, if they hold different values or their religious belief, if someone believes in this and the other believes in that, that would mean there is always a fight. The mother is trying to teach a kid to be how to be a Roman Catholic, and the father is trying to teach a kid how to be a Muslim. That kid is left confused, not knowing what to do. Should I do what my mother is saying, or else must I do what my father is saying? And while we are still talking about that negative parental behavior, some of the things that the parents do that is a negative parental behavior that they shouldn't be doing, that also affects their kids, is being abusive.
Okay.
When the father is abusive, maybe abusing the mother or always using abuse, when the father is maybe emotional abusive to the mother, that will tend to affect the kids.
Okay.
Being abusive is also a negative parental behavior. If the parents doesn't know how to communicate, doesn't know how to handle arguments, doesn't know what time to argue and when to argue, all those things will come back to hound or hurt the kids, because the kids are always looking, the kids are always imitating. Negative parental behavior always bring up chaotic kids. If the parents fail to respect each other, the kids will also be irrespectful kids.
Okay.
They tend to bully others in their peer groups. They tend to disrespect even the elders in the community or the teachers in school.
Yeah.
So what are we saying?
Mm-hmm.
Negative parental behavior has got a very big influence, a negative influence on the kids. Take for instance, when a father is trying to discipline a child and then the mother is saying no, that will also affect the child. And when the child does something that is wrong, he or she will always run to the mother, knowing that when my mother is there, my father won't be able to beat me.
She always protects me.
She knows that I'm always protected. But is that real protection?
No.
Because if you do not discipline your kid for yourself, what will happen? For instance, let's say it's a boy child who is misbehaving, and he grows up to be maybe a bully, and maybe he grows up to be a bully, someone who is harsh in the community. We all know that bullies may end up maybe being a thief, maybe a robber, or they tend to do things like they end up being even murderers.
Yeah. Okay.
And then if you don't discipline your child, then maybe the state or the government will take that child to jail, and jail will discipline you for him or her.
That's very painful. So we really need to teach our kids ourselves before an external force comes in. So parents and guidance must learn to look out for bad character traits in their kids and cancel them before it's too late. And on the other hand, they must also learn to reward good behavior, good deeds that their kids are doing. Just a simple thank you, it goes a long way. Or if and also it encourages a kid to continue doing good. Even if your kid does good, then you just buy a lollipop or a simple little chocolate that will make that child happy, and tomorrow or the other day that child will need to do more than what she does the previous day.
So, as you can see, parents, you've got a great duty in influencing your child's character.
You once mentioned a lot of factors that affect the development of a character in a kid. So one of them was friends and peer groups. Can you dive deep into that? How exactly they affect the character of a child?
Yeah, earlier on we mentioned that parents are the first teachers. But as we all know, when the child leaves home, he is mostly with his friends and his peers.
Okay.
And in the peers, with his peer groups, that's where he get to exhibit all the things that he learned while at home. So now, in their groups with friends, that's where a child it's like a ground for exercising what
Okay.
he learns at home. So in the end, uh, even though the teacher the parents are the primary teachers, but the actual ground for practicing, or maybe let's say where they get to do the practical part,
Mm-hmm.
is with his peers.
Okay.
That's when if a child was taught empathy at home, or if a child was taught to give at home, he actually gets to do it in action while with his peers, with his or her peers. So as far as the peer group is the testing ground for what a child learns at home, the peer group also has got some lessons that it instills in a child that a child cannot get at home.
Okay.
What lessons are these?
Mm-hmm.
Things like conflict resolution, anger management, negotiation, all those things a child learns those while with his or her peers.
Okay.
For example, a child can only learn how to resolve a conflict, or can only learn anger management when he gets into a disagreement or into a fight with someone of his age. And then if they get to talk about it and discuss, and then reaches a level ground, then they've learned how to resolve a conflict. And if a child learns how, if the child ends up forgiving the one who maybe beat her up or did something wrong unto him or her, and then that child has learned anger management. So it's only in the peer groups. And those social skills, even negotiating, a child learns to negotiate while he is with his peers. Maybe they get something, or maybe they've got some pocket money and they want to buy something. They end up maybe putting the money together, buying something together. They learn how to interact. So the skills that are needed, some of the skills that are needed, social skills that are needed in the real world, the kids will get to learn those lessons while in their groups. So that's the importance of their peer groups.
Okay. So that's also where they learn to share. Maybe their food at home, their food, maybe something that the dust they have.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's where they learn. That's where they get to learn to share, and that's where they exhibit the character that they are seeing at home. If the father is abusive, you would see the son being abusive in the peer group. Those are the kids that become bullies, that started bullying others, because he is copying what his
From
father
where
is
it's
doing
coming
at
from.
home.
Okay. Wow. I love the idea. it's just good for the kids to be around other kids, getting to practice what they know and becoming their exact persons. But then now I wonder, where do peer pressure comes in?
Okay, the thing is, in their groups, if you could remember when we were young,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to see that the kids who like bullying always had their own group.
Okay.
And the kids maybe who like a certain sport had their own group. So they group themselves according to who they are, how they were shaped at home.
Okay.
So once a kid is in a certain group,
Mm-hmm.
there's a sense of belonging.
In that
Each
group.
and every kid, there's a sense of belonging in a group.
Okay.
And there are certain things that are acceptable in a peer group, and there are
Okay.
certain things that are not acceptable. So if it's a group of bullies,
Mm-hmm.
then even a child who is not more of a bully will be forced because he wants to suit in the group.
Into the group.
So now
Okay.
it's the sense of belonging that's controlling the child, because they only get to be themselves when they are out there with those of their same age. That's why you would see that the kids normally they don't really express who they are when their parents are there, when in the presence of their parents. If you really want to get to know your child,
Mm-hmm.
just look at him or her playing with other kids. That's when you get to know who or she really is.
Okay.
So they get freedom of expression. So acceptance is very important, such that they don't want to feel like maybe they don't belong. So the pressure comes from wanting to fit in. So they end up just doing or following what's happening in the group.
Okay, so that's when maybe they are drinking alcohol, then those gets addicted through the group and stuff.
Yeah, the thing is, maybe that starts at a later stage. Maybe when the kids are at about maybe from around 13, 14, 15. Because these peer groups, at each and every stage while a child is growing up,
Mm-hmm.
the peer groups influences a child in a different and unique way.
Okay.
And at all stages, these peer groups plays a vital role in shaping them for the good or for the bad. So when a child finds him or herself in a group of kids, maybe there are two or three kids in a group who comes from a home where the
Mm-hmm.
fathers drink,
Mm-hmm.
and those kids see it as something that's acceptable to drink alcohol.
Okay.
And there's this other kid who is just hanging around with those kids.
Mm-hmm.
You or she doesn't have the background of drinking alcohol, but then just now because she or she is around the people who are accustomed to drinking, then she would end up drinking just to fit in.
So do you actually mean that the peer group has more impact than parents? Because some kids are strictly told what to do exactly, and then now they find themselves following what other kids want. So do you mean, is it because of other kids, or it's just who they are, or it's because of the parents? Who is it at fault when something like that happens?
Okay, we are going to find out, or we are going to see that when we were growing up,
Mm.
at some point, one way or the other, you are going to see that maybe at some point you find yourself in your own company,
Okay.
and maybe for some days or for some weeks you accommodated them, but at some point you felt like, no, this is not like me. So
Okay.
now it's a matter, or it's a question of how deep or how strong the foundation
Was.
that was laid by your parents are,
Okay. I
such
get the
that you would
point.
be able to keep on following the group for the sake of identity, or to pull back just because you
You don't
feel
fit.
like you don't fit.
Okay.
So now that's where now the question of moral teaching comes in. If
Oh.
the child was instructed
Mm,
on what to do morally,
mm.
of the question of moral and ethics, that's when the child would then use his own sense to make use his own mind to make his own choices. You're going to find out that personal choices also they are part of the factors that build a child's character. I still remember when I was around, I think around 10 or 11 years, I once found myself in a group of boys that was smoking ganja. And at some point, I once smoked.
Okay.
Like, it was a group of kids which were maybe were ranging from 10 to 14 years, if I remember correctly. I did
Okay.
smoke ganja because of the pressure of the group. You see, we used to go and play soccer, and the other kids were saying, after smoking, you can play better. You see,
Okay.
so the pressure of wanting to play better and wanting to fit in the team, it drove me to smoke ganja.
Okay.
But in the end, I was trying to ask myself some questions. Did I play better? And did I even feel anything? Does this even does this ganja even affect
Affect.
me? Because I felt like maybe I was just normal.
Okay.
So in the end, I ended up making a decision that no, I'm not gonna smoke again. I just smoked once in my life, and I
Okay.
made a decision I'm not gonna smoke again in my life. But some of the kids went on smoking, and some of them ended up drinking beer, and most of them now they are drunkards. They abuse alcohol, they take ganja, but I drew back.
Okay.
So it's not always that the peer group will influence the child and the child will end up doing what the group does. At some
Okay.
point, you can draw back, or even while in that group,
Mm-hmm.
there are some kids who can pick what to and what not to do.
Okay.
And that now that's coming from how deep the morals or the ethics that were taught by the parents to that child.
Okay.
Then that would make a child to make a solid decision that this I do and this I don't do.
Okay. So do you mean it's also peer pressure that makes maybe early pregnancy, those little relationships, when you were growing up, like at the age of 18, you're a teenager, as adolescents, and then you just feel that thing of having boyfriends and stuff. Is it also peer pressure that contributes to that and stuff?
Okay, yeah. Let me say yes, it's peer pressure, but let me answer you also with another example.
Okay.
Okay, normally boys,
Mm-hmm.
let me say men, or let me say boys. Let me say boys.
Okay.
From the age of maybe from secondary level, from 13 years, 14, 15, but mostly I noticed around when I was around maybe 15,
Mm-hmm.
15 to 18,
Mm-hmm.
you get accepted in the group. No, it's like a norm to boys that
Okay.
if you haven't slept with a girl, you're not a man. You see,
Oh,
so like the kids end up having pressure that no, maybe if I do this,
then
then
I'm a
this
man.
this makes me a man.
Okay,
So
that's
some
interesting.
other kids would go up to the levels of maybe lying that I slept with a girl for the sake of acceptance. You see,
Okay.
so because the group will be saying now you feel like a man, you are a man now. You see, so I guess that's the same thing that happens maybe even with girls. I don't know much about girls, but I just gave you an example from my own point of view, from what I went through when I was growing up.
Yeah, but
So
I also guess from girls, it's also peer pressure that includes, because when other girls are saying, "Oh no, this he bought me this and I have this," then it just raises in us. Then you feel like, no, I just have to have my only boyfriend as well. So yeah, it contributes as well.
yeah, so these peer groups
Mm.
are very important. But now that's why it is important as parents to monitor
Okay.
your kid. Like you can't take away your kid from his or her peer group,
Okay.
because that's where you get to learn some of things that we say that the parents cannot teach. Things like conflict resolution, anger
Anger
management,
management.
and
Yeah.
a lot more.
Mm.
So we can't do
Remove
away
the.
with the peer group.
Mm.
For the development of a child's character, a
Okay.
peer group is one of the important factors that are needed. We can't do away with the peer group, but it's important for the parents to always look at their children. The
Okay.
parents need to know where their kids are spending their time, with who,
Okay.
because that's part of what shapes the kid, a kid's character. That's what shapes the person that she's gonna become, he or she's gonna become when he or she grows up.
Okay, but I heard you mentioning earlier that we can't take away a kid from the peer group. Then now I'm a parent. I saw that no, this peer group, I'm not comfortable with it. The way they are doing things or their values doesn't match what I want my kid to be. So do I need to neglect that? Do I need to take action? Because you said peer groups is a main factor, right? But then if I let my kid play with those people that I see, no, these people are not good for him, or so what can I really do?
So now that's part of parenting.
Okay.
Actually noticing that my kids are spending time with the wrong people is a positive parenting style. It's a positive parenting skill.
Okay.
So when you see that your kid is spending time with the bad company, that's when you come in. What do you do? Maybe you don't need to use force, but you just need to be creative. If you have got good communication skills with your kid, you can be able to sit down with your kid. If you taught your kid some morals, you'll be able to remind him. Do you still remember I taught you that you mustn't do this and this and this and this and this? But this group that you are spending time with, I think those things that I learned, that I told you that are not good, this group is associated with those things. So I don't think this group is good for you. So it's a matter of being creative and trying to not push away your kid from you, but at the same time, not losing your kid to the peer groups, whatever they are doing.
Okay. No, I understand now. Thank
So it's important to monitor your peer groups. And it's also wise to let your home be a welcome place for other kids.
Okay.
Such that when your kid brings his or her friends, you get to monitor, you get to see what type of friends is my kid spending time with. But if your home is like a place where it's like a den of lions, and then the other kids can't come to your place, your kid is the one who's always going out. You don't know what's happening out there.
Okay.
So you need to be someone who is welcoming. It's like that when the kids come play around, you see what's going on. So you get to monitor and you get to help your kid.
Well, I like that point because some parents say, no, I don't want a lot of kids. They bring noise, they bring a lot of things. So actually, I have to monitor my kid, seeing her from afar while playing with others. That will give me a picture of the character my kid is becoming. Then I'll be able to cancel her from that. Wow, that's perfect.
So good peer groups will help build courage in a kid,
Okay.
self-discipline, and a lot of good things, a lot of good traits that are needed in a child's character.
Okay.
As well, and bad groups also teach negative things. So it's very important for a parent to be involved in a child's choices of friends. So these are not only the factors that affect a child's character development, and quite a lot of other factors that we discussed. But I think for today we are going to end here, and then we are going to have a part 2 for what influences a child's character. So come with us to part 2 and learn a lot more about what influences your child's character. Because we haven't talked about how culture affects the child, how community and society, how technology. Nowadays you've got social media, how Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and all other social media platforms, how they affect a child's character. So meet us in the next video where we discuss social media, technology, culture, religious and moral beliefs, life experiences, and personal choices, how they affect a child. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for joining us. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us what you think in the comments. We are always open for discussion. We know you've got something that you know much about raising kids. Let's help each other to grow better. As we said, this channel is titled Grow Better.